It's like a loop machine. Going around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
Hello and welcome to the BCSN Sports Wrap, and it's my pleasure to be on the phone speaking with the head coach of the Florida A&M Rattlers, Coach Willie Simmons, coming off of a big win in Orangeburg, South Carolina, a big birthday celebration, I'm sure. Coach, congratulations, happy birthday. How are you feeling this morning?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm feeling amazing.
That's good to hear. That's great to hear. You know, it's great to be able to speak to you about a game like the one against South Carolina State, a game in which, you know, we could have very easily have been talking about, you know, disappointments and opportunities slipping away from the Rattlers, but instead we're talking about things like redemption and fighting to the finish, and another close ball game won by your team. Talk a little bit about just the emotions of that game, and especially that fourth quarter there.
Well, the thing about it, we knew that going into Orangeburg that it was going to be a 60-minute ball game. You know, Buddy Pugh has had FAMU's number since he came into the league, and you know, only winning once in I guess 15 or 16 years. You know, we didn't think we would just go in there and run all over those guys. They're a good football team, well coached. They play extremely hard. And we knew that they wouldn't quit. We made a lot of big plays on both sides of the ball, played really well on offense, played extremely well on defense, but special teams was the thing that kept them in the game. 2 block punts for touchdowns. We threw a pick 6 down in the red zone that gave them their first touchdown. And we had enough self-inflicted wounds to keep the game close. You take away those, and it's probably a pretty lopsided game, but that's football. And the thing I can say about these guys is, for the 4th week in a row, they've shown that they can persevere and get the job done when it matters most.
Yes, indeed. You know, first off, I want to talk about the defensive performance by your defensive group, because I found that, you know, as I finally had a chance to rewatch the game this morning, that was the dominating performance by the defense. I mean, they pretty much held Tyrese Nick in check. I mean, this is after coming off of a 5-touchdown performance the week before. We know that their receiving core is strong. So, I mean, but the defense, you know, I think had held South Carolina State to like 65-something yards of total offense in the first half, even forced the change at quarterback. So just talk a little bit about the defensive performance by your team in that contest.
Well, those guys played with a chip on their shoulder. You know, last year against South Carolina State, it was probably their worst performance. Gave up, really 37 points. We gave up a kick return for a touchdown last year, but they came down to Tallahassee and had their way with us. And those guys remember that. You know, they talked about it really all week, and I thought they had a great week of preparation. I thought the defensive staff did a phenomenal job of putting together a solid game plan. Anytime you're playing a player as dynamic as Tyrese Nick, you have to definitely make sure that you are sound in all of our assignments. And those guys did that. We stopped the run to hold a high-power rushing attack to under 100 yards rushing. And really until the change at quarterback, played really well in pass defense as well. And so, again, I tip my hat to those guys. They're playing at an extremely high level. They have been doing it all year. After the UCF game, they really buckled down, and they've been playing some really good football and at the right time, because we're really getting to the meat of our schedule.
Right. And for, you know, South Carolina State went to that quarterback change in the fourth quarter, and that was I felt like that was sort of a big momentum switch. I mean, FAMU is driving into the red zone with an opportunity to go up, I believe, 17 points. The interception is thrown in the end zone, and then South Carolina State goes to the new quarterback, and he had a little bit of success there in like 2 consecutive drives. Was that just a product of, you know, just the switch, the momentum? Did it take the defense a moment to get adjusted to the new quarterback? What went into sort of their comeback really at that point in the game?
Well, I think it was a combination of those two. The interception really gave them momentum, really got their crowd back into the game. And then when they made the quarterback switch, Fields is more of a traditional pocket passer, whereas Tyrese is more of a true dual threat guy. And we had game planned all week to defend Tyrese. And so when Fields came in throwing darts, he caught us off guard. And four passes later, they're in the end zone. So we really had to go to the sideline, really make some quick adjustments to understand that now they have a thrower in the game as opposed to a runner. But, again, that's a testament to our defensive staff being able to make quick game-time adjustments, and our players really responding to that and being able to get those guys off the field that last drive.
Yeah, that was definitely a great job by the defense there when it counted most. Touching, you mentioned it a little bit about the special teams problems, 2 blocked punts, and they just wound up in the end zone being recovered for touchdowns. Were those just missed assignments? Because the punting, the special teams unit has been excellent, I think, for the most part of this season. Was it just a couple of plays, or maybe there was some assignment? I don't know if you've gone through all the film, and I'm sure you will if you haven't. What did you see from the field perspective that sort of led to those 2 blocked punts?
Well, the first thing you always look at whenever you have a blocked punt is operation time. And we got to see if we had the appropriate operation time from snap to kick. And if that's the case, then obviously now you look at assignments. Did someone bust an assignment? It's very difficult. Punt block unit is if the punt team executes, snaps the ball on time, gets the ball off on time, everyone blocks their guy, it's very hard to block a punt. And so for us to have 2, it's obviously a breakdown protection, and we'll have to figure it out and get it fixed because got A&T rolling in this week, and last year they blocked 2 punts. I think one for a touchdown and one for a setup score. So we definitely have to make sure we fix that. Because, again, you can't continue to think you'll beat really good football teams giving up multiple – one block period, but definitely multiple blocks, and definitely 2 for touchdowns.
Right. Now, offense, moving over to the offensive side of the ball for your team, before we get into the passing game, the running game really sort of had their problems just having the sort of great day, and really, honestly, neither team ran the ball well. I guess that's more of a credit to both defensive units. Would you, when you look back at the running overall, would you give credit to South Carolina's defense, or maybe something else on personnel wise, or that maybe didn't work for you guys running the ball like maybe you wanted to coming into this game?
Well, I think, one, as a testament to those guys, Buddy Pugh's always fielded a top-tier defense, and stopping the run has always been a staple of what they do. And, they're very stout up front. They have active linebackers and safeties that get involved in the run game. So that was a part of it. But I think the bigger part, and it's really kind of been an issue for us all season, is we're just not doing a good enough job up front of staying on our blocks and our double-team blocks. I think we're coming off too soon, trying to get up on linebackers. And then our running backs aren't doing a great job of pressing the line of scrimmage. We're making a lot of premature decisions, and it's really putting our offensive line in bad position. So we really have to get this to go back to fundamental run blocking, running backs pressing the line of scrimmage, setting up the blocks, and things like that. Because, again, we have to be able to run the ball. We're throwing the ball as well as anybody in the country right now, but I don't want to get to a point where I just depend on us throwing for 300, 400 yards every game. I want to be able to keep teams off balance and slow the game down at times, and you do that by running the football.
Yeah, and I want to give some credit to a couple of guys, of course, in that last drive, Devon Kendrick, I thought probably one of the most important run of the game, I think might have been his first down on the very first play coming out of, you're starting at the 50 thanks to a penalty by South Carolina State. And on the very first play, he shakes off an initial hit, ends up with like an 11-yard run, and it kind of gets the momentum going. And then Mr. Kendrick even comes back later with another big catch off a little short 2-yard pass over on the sideline. He picks up like 18 yards on that. So, that how about the younger, I believe he's a freshman, right, Devon Kendrick?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, talk a little bit about him coming in, and of course he comes in after an injury to Bishop Bonnet. Talk a little bit about Kendrick, and then maybe if you would, I don't know, you can't tell maybe too much about Bonnet's health, but Bonnet's performance was pretty impressive as well.
Well, first thing about Bonnet, we'll know more today. Obviously, we got back late last night, and so he was on crutches. And, so it seems like some type of lower leg injury. I'm not sure the extent of it. We knew that he wasn't going back into the game. So we'll get him evaluated today, and we'll have an idea of whether we'll get him back this week. And obviously we hope so, because he is a very explosive player for us, as evidenced by his touchdown run late and some of the runs he had early in the game. But, Devon Kendrick's, like you said, a freshman, redshirt freshman guy, is really growing every week. Didn't play the first game of the season, and ever since then it's kind of been working its way into a big-time role for us. And luckily for us, fortunately, I guess I should say, we have a lot of depth at the running back position because, again, you look at it, we lost Eddie Tillman for the year early in the season. Now Bishop's banged up. We moved Ricky Henrillis over to defense. But that still leaves us 3 quality running backs with Devon Kendrick, Terrell Jennings, and even Deshaun Smith. We have to probably get him going a little bit more this week. A guy that was a second-team all-conference pick last year, and, got to find a way to get him going. But, our depth at running back has really been an asset to us. Even though we're not running the ball extremely well, those guys are still making plays in the passing game, which, again, is a huge part of this offense whenever you can get the running backs involved in the passing game. So, Devon is, again, growing up before our eyes, same as Terrell Jennings, a true freshman who scored 2 touchdowns yesterday. And, those guys are really, really, again, growing up right before us. And they're going to need to, because we're going to need them down this stretch we have starting this week with A&T.
Right, yeah. I definitely didn't want to leave out Mr. Jennings with those nice touchdown runs and the quality of and the depth. I mean, that's what you go out and do all the recruiting for. And sometimes people always maybe wondering, we have so many running backs, and guys may not see a lot of playing time, but this is that point in the season where that depth actually comes in handy. I want to move over to, of course, probably an early season. If he is not a candidate for MEAC Player of the Year, he probably is now, and that's Mr. Ryan Stanley, the FAMU's now all-time career passing leader. And I thought, there were moments when, even when Ryan and the offense, there was a mistake or a special teams turnover, he led the offense right back on every either interception or mistake, and you guys scored. Talk a little bit about Ryan, his progression, continues to get better every week, and just the kind of day he had on a record-setting, or I guess a record-breaking day for Ryan.
Well, no doubt about it. It was a record-setting and record-breaking. He, of course, became the school's all-time leading passer in career yardage, passing Queen Gray, but also set a career high for himself in passing yards in the game with 427.
Okay.
And just played an exceptionally good football game. He had two really, really bad decisions that obviously he'd love to have back, and those are the 2 interceptions down in the red zone. And, just again, at times just trying to do a little bit too much, understanding down there that we have points. We have probably the best place kicker in the conference, and Yahia Ali. Throw those balls away and check it down and live for another down. But, he'll definitely learn from those. But like you said, the most impressive part was, regardless of whether it was a self-inflicted wound or a special teams blunder, he always bounced right back. And those guys are really, they believe in him. They trust that when he's in a game, he definitely gives us the best chance to be successful. I've been extremely hard on him this season about leadership, about responding to adversity. And, he owned up to him. As soon as he threw the interception, he came back, patted himself on the chest and said, "That was on me, Coach." And a year ago, I would have had to give him a tongue lashing. But now, you just kind of look at him, and he knows. He knows when he gets that look from me, he knows what I'm going to say. And so I don't have to say it anymore. But just his resolve and resilience, really has been impressive this year. And I guess the same could be said about the team as well. We didn't get flustered even when we went down. Being up 2 scores and all of a sudden you're down by 3, my guys didn't get flustered. They just continued to play. And I think that's something that they've really bought into. Fight to finish is our motto for this year, and that means that sometimes you're going to be in some precarious situations. You just got to keep playing. And like I said, again, for 4 weeks in a row, these guys have shown that they can just keep playing and find ways to win tough football games.
And the Rattlers are definitely living up to that slogan, fight to the finish, no doubt. I got to give mention to the wide receivers. Two guys had very big days. Xavier Smith, 8 receptions, 137 yards, and 2 scores. And David Manigo, 11 catches, 138 yards. I noticed last week, obviously, Smith has become a namesake, one of the candidates that's falling on the national radar. But Manigo, I noticed he really sort of broke out last week. I mean, he had a big day last week with I think 80-something yards on 4 catches, but this week he was big and tall and just hard to stop all game. Talk a little bit about the receivers there, Manigo, Smith, and just the receiving depth is always there, and it's one of the more impressive things that the Rattlers have working for them this year.
Well, again, you're absolutely right. And you look at it, Chad Hunter, who has been playing the X position for the last 2 years, had become a household name, has been injured basically all year. And David Manigo's a second-year player. He was thrust into action late last year, actually got his first start against Bethune-Cookman as a true freshman and kind of got baptized in that game. But, this year he's come back as a stronger player. He's really worked extremely hard on his route running, on his hand-eye coordination, pass-catching skills, and he's really given us a weapon at that X position. Obviously, whenever you're a run-pass option offense like we are, you still allow of too high coverage. And so the way teams try to stop that is they'll start playing a lot more single high to get more guys in the box to take away a lot of the run options. Well, that gives you one-on-ones on the backside. And so yesterday, Ryan did a phenomenal job of reading the coverages and taking those one-on-ones, and David made his fair share of 50-50 catches. I think all the 50-50 balls he caught them. And whenever you can have that type of production from that position, it makes us very, very hard to defend in the passing game. And so with his maturation, again, it's given us an element that makes us very, very dangerous on offense. And, again, that's with Chad Hunter being out. But Marcus Williams is back in the fold and, had a couple of big plays for us. And Zende Ray obviously had a huge 65-yard reception for us and a couple of big runs. And again, the receiver depth, running back depth that we have has really, really given us an opportunity to have an explosive offense. And, obviously in the state of Florida, that's something that we can pride ourselves on going out and finding. We can find skill. And sometimes it's the big boys and tight ends that's hard to find. But we've been able to find some really, really good skill players. We inherited some, and we also brought some in. So, again, just to have those weapons at our disposal has really made play calling a lot easier for me. But, again, those guys are responding to the challenge every week, and I think they've taken that Rat Boy 2.0 to heart and really want to try to emulate the success those guys had back in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So last thing on this FAMU South Carolina State game, as you were coming to the middle of the field at the end of the game, to shake hands with Coach Pugh, you had this look on your face that, sort of a big grin, almost like, wow, either it's a look of, wow, we just took one from you, Coach, or I'm so relieved this game is over. So maybe share a thought or two about that meeting at the middle of the field there with Coach Buddy Pugh.
It really was both. It was a combination of both. Obviously, if anyone's followed all the stories, this past week, the relationship that Buddy and I have, our relationship is extended over 20 years, being the fact that I played my senior year with his son at the Citadel. And just, once I got into coaching, he became a mentor to me, and especially once I got into the MEAC. And so, even our pregame talk, we talked about how this was going to be a great ball game and how it's great for the league that, both teams are playing well again and just all the things to build up. And we kind of reeled each other back and forth. He knew it was my birthday. I knew he was trying to get, the all-time winning record from Willie Jeffers. And so, I joked to him, hey, man, you can go ahead and get it next week for homecoming. But that middle of the field kind of look was like, man, what a ball game. It really was that look.
Yes,
like what a ball game we just had. And, it's kind of the pupil and the tutor, just Buddy's on his way out, obviously. I'm a young coach in this profession. I'm kind of on the upswing and, it's almost not say a passing of the torch, but, just the respect that we have for one another and just the embrace that we had after the game. Again, just I have to ton of utmost respect for what he's done with that program, and it was an honor to just be on the field with him because a lot of people don't remember. Last year was going to be Buddy's last year. He pretty much told everyone that he was going to retire after last year, and for him to come back and make one more run at it, and for me to be able to say that I beat the legendary Buddy Pugh, who's going to soon become the all-time winningest coach in the history of South Carolina State football, passing the legendary Willie Jeffries, was just a humbling experience for me, and it's something that I'll never forget in my coaching career.
That's great, and that game will be an instant classic. Definitely will hopefully go down as one of the top games of the season when it all gets finished. But we are only at the halfway point, and we turn now from one game, and as a famous coach said, we are on to North Carolina A&T, and that is the next challenge ahead of you. So I'll only ask one question of you, Coach, and I'll just say I'll ask, can you think of maybe one or two things that come to mind today? Obviously, I know you're going to start your preparation for it a little bit later, but as you think of it right now, maybe one or two things that you're maybe concerned about, or maybe you are telling yourself, okay, we have to figure out a way to do this against North Carolina A&T.
Well, 2 words, Jermaine Martin.
There you go.
Their running back, man. You're probably talking about at the midway point, the 2 front runners for MEAC Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, going toe to toe, and Ryan Stanley and Jermaine Martin. And you can almost even throw Xavier Smith in that mix. With the work that he's done the last 4 or 5 weeks at receiver has been phenomenal. But again, you're probably talking about the 3 most dynamic offensive playmakers in the conference going toe-to-toe this coming Saturday. And then obviously 2 of the top defenses in the league. A&T has always been one of the top defenses in the country, and our defense is playing at an extremely high level. You take away the UCF game, and we're probably top 2 or 3, in the conference, and probably top 10 in the nation in total defense. And so it's just another knockdown, drag out, which is what the MEAC is all about. Again, I think I said it this summer, the MEAC is a league where every week you got to get ready to play. There's no take deep breaths and we can relax this week. We don't have many of those. And so to go from tough Norfolk State team to a tough Central team to an extremely tough South Carolina State team to now the reigning HBCU national champs, A&T, it's a 4-week grind. And so we'll be looking forward to the challenge. Obviously, our guys had a little bit of time to celebrate last night once we got back late. And, we'll come back at it today with meetings and weights and treatment and, get back to work. Because, again, we know for our ultimate goal, being Black College National Champs this year, that road goes through Greensboro. They're coming to us, obviously, but we know that A&T's the team to beat, in this conference, has been for the last few years now. And they'll come in with revenge on their minds, being that we went to their home last year and stole one from them. So, Again, looking forward to the game. And I'm pretty sure this will be the game of the week. I was looking through FBS football to see who the marquee games were this week, because I was thinking maybe College Game Day will think is worthy of coming to Tallahassee this week.
They should, right? Yes, they should.
Two undefeated teams, undefeated in conference play. Our only losses are to Power 5 FCS team, FBS rather, them losing to Duke and us losing to a ranked UCF team, But again, you're talking about 2 teams that are playing really, really good football. And I just think it's going to be an amazing environment down here in Tallahassee this weekend. And, I know the Black College Game Day will be here, but I think somebody might need to reach out to ESPN and see if this would be a game they'll be interested in coming to the show.
Yeah, hey, it would be nice to see College Game Day make a second appearance in Tallahassee. It will definitely be a game of the week. It definitely will be our game of the week. I'm calling it right now. I'm sure every other Black College sports network and outlet will be making it theirs. If they aren't, they should. So we're expecting a great game, and I think the build up to the game will be exciting as well. Coach, I appreciate your time. I will give you a final word. Anything that you'd like to say to Rattler Nation, after the win against South Carolina State and the look ahead to North Carolina A&T. I will give you the last word.
Well, as always, it was truly an honor to walk out on the field yesterday and look to my left and see so much orange and green, on the visitor side. And Rattler Nation has been supporting us all year, at home, on the road, you name it, they've been there. And so I definitely applaud everyone who's continued to support these young men. And we're definitely going to need it this week, as we, again, take on the number one team in black college football and here at home. And, this is the last really I don't want to say last huge marquee game here in Bragg this year. Of course, the last two games we have, those teams aren't playing as well. But, we need a homecoming and Southern type environment here. And we definitely need a sellout crowd. A&T's bringing their band, so I know the 100 will be in rare form this weekend. And so, again, I don't know if there'll be many better atmospheres in college football at any level, FBS or FCS, than here in Tallahassee at Bragg Memorial Stadium this weekend. So looking forward to it. Again, this is why you come to FAMU to play in games like this. This is why you coach here. This is why our guys come here to play. And not many schools can say that for the third week in a row at home, there'll be a sellout crowd. 27,000 at Southern, 26,000 at homecoming last week, and I'm sure another 25+ this week versus A&T. And just looking forward to the game and look forward to seeing everyone there, you guys included. And again, let's have a great week. And as always, go Rattlers.
All right, head coach Willie Simmons off the big win over Florida A&M's win over South Carolina State, and up next for the Rattlers, the big showdown against North Carolina A&T. Thank you, Coach Simmons, for your time. Have a blessed day and a blessed week. Good luck to the staff and the team, and good luck next week against the Aggies.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, take care now.
All right, bye-bye.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.